Officially afternoon now, so good afternoon, everyone. We will give people 1 or 2 more minutes to join us before we go ahead and get started. Alrighty, well, in my clock it says 12:02, so we will go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Erica Figueroa. I am filling in for our usual host, Julia Gruss. She is on vacation, so I will be your facilitator today. Welcome to our August instance of the All In for Kansas Kids Strengthening Early Childhood in Kansas webinar. Um, as you can see, our webinar series, just a reminder for everyone, is held on the second Wednesday of every month. So today, August 13th, our next webinar will be September 10th. If you have not done so already, please sign up for our All In for Kansas Kids e-newsletter. That's also available on the Children's Cabinet website. This has a multitude of resources and news and big updates that are happening in our early childhood system. Today, we are going to have a presentation by Tammy with the Southeast Kansas Library System. And then we will do some early childhood system updates. So I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen and I will turn it over to Tammy.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I'm going to talk today about libraries, public libraries specifically in Kansas, and showcase some of the services that you as Kansans have access to, and talk to you a little bit about how I see early childhood and library services fitting together across the state. And I want to invite you, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. And Erica has graciously said that she would let me know whenever there is a question, because sometimes whenever you're sharing your screen, you don't always get the right view to know when there is chat. So if you have a question, don't be afraid to put it in the chat. Some of the services that I'm going to talk about are region specific, or some of them are even specific to certain townships, and I'm going to do my best to point those out. And some of them are statewide. So as Kansans, we have a robust library system, and I want to make sure that you're aware of it. And I would encourage you to share this information out with your families. At the end of the day, we're going to share out the slide deck that I'm going to be talking from. There were a couple of links in there that were inaccurate, and I want to make sure you have great information. So with that, I'm going to attempt to share a screen here so that we can get started. All right, so public libraries make good community partners, and hopefully a lot of you already recognize that. But I wanted to point out some ways that we're working on our end in public libraries to become better community partners, and also to point out some things that have been in place forever and you may or may not know about them. There are 318 public libraries in Kansas, so if you haven't tagged into this giant network across the state, it might be something that you consider. Some of our libraries have hosted group socializations for Head Start, Early Head Start. They've hosted family play dates for a variety of different groups. They partner to get the information out to families about services that are available within the community. They provide opportunities for families to come and find a socialization, for children to work on their socialization, and for community members to participate in the arts, in performances, in literature review, in author talks. So there's a plethora of opportunities that are available at public libraries. Kansas is divided into 7 regions, and those regions then provide training and coordination to the libraries within those regions. And within all of those regions, within the entire state, there's a lot of fun. And this is a picture from the library in Moline, Kansas. So it's in Elk County, which is a frontier county in southeast Kansas. And they have about 300 people in the town, and this is one of their libraries. They have a very robust system and that does a lot of partnering with the other agencies within their community. One of the big offerings from public libraries is our summer library programs, which we're just now wrapping up. As school starts, libraries wind down. But I want to make sure that you're aware of our summer library programs, because this really is a great opportunity for you to know about, find out about, and connect with library programs. So, summer reading program is um, the information that's used, the manual, is from a collaborative summer library program, which is an organization that gets together a bunch of volunteers and writes a manual, and that is then professionally edited. And so a lot of the ideas are presented to our state in the form of a manual. The libraries locally can choose to use that manual or choose to use something completely different or create their own. So whenever you see, oh, the programming over in this community is very different than the programming in the one in that county that's next to us, then you'll know why. Libraries are locally controlled, so they're controlled by a local board, and that board then makes the decision along with the library staff on what kind of programming to offer. But we do offer this option, the CSLP Summer Library Program, and many, if most of the libraries in the public realm in Kansas use the materials from CSLP. This year's theme had to do with art. Next year's theme, we're already ordering materials for, is dinosaurs. The dinosaurs are coming, so Unearth the Story is the name of the theme, and you'll be seeing a lot more about that. A lot of people are choosing different pathways to go along with the theme. It may not be dinosaurs in your community, but for CSLP purposes, the artwork and all of the materials that are contained in the manual will be along the lines of dinosaur theme. So public libraries undertake summer library programming because of something called Summer Slide. And you probably have heard of Summer Slide, but for those of you who haven't, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what Summer Slide is. But I'm also including a white paper in the slide deck that links to all of the research behind the impact that public libraries can have on Summer Slide. So Summer Slide really looks at what have children gained during the school year, those in preschool and up, and specifically in the area of reading. And we all in early childhood know what leads to reading in later grades, right? That's the play-based learning that leads to reading. So Summer Slide really looks at if they've made gains during the school year and then they hit summer. Well, literacy is like any kind of exercise, right? So if you stop exercising, then your gains will slowly decline. But if you continue to exercise, you may not make more gains. Some kids do, but we at least want to try to prevent summer slide, so that decrease in skill attainment. So, summer library programs are really designed to keep kids engaged and keep their brain practicing. So, we have these two options for summer. A lot of it has to do with motivation. And so, that is what can we offer kids to get them into the library? What do they want to do? And that often is crafting, playing, the different water activities, those community partners. So we see like the big truck rallies come in and the kids have touch a truck opportunities, those kinds of things that we know will motivate kids to come to the library. And then we have that second piece. So that's the hook for the second piece, which is the reading program. And the reading program is where they practice the reading that they have done, or families read to the younger kids. So there are levels that the library, each library sets their own levels, and then there are prizes associated with each level. So I challenge the librarians to think of it as two different categories of the same one program, the programming side and the reading side. So make sure that you are engaged with both. And sometimes the prizes are associated with, did you attend a library program, along with, did you read 4 books or 5 books or whatever level that they have set. And again, this is different from library to library. So if you've moved in communities, you'll probably recognize that they run their summer library programs differently in each community. Let me pause right here and say one thing. I came up in a community in very challenging circumstances, and during my formative years, I found my way to the local public library that was newly constructed, and not understanding that you can get a public library card for free. Cards in Kansas don't charge it doesn't cost anything to have a public library card. And you can borrow from any library in Kansas with a public library card. So this is a great resource. And understand that many times, if the library in your community doesn't have what you're looking for, they'll interlibrary loan. So borrow from another library the material that you need, so that you can then get it sent directly to you. We have a courier service in Kansas that ferries around different library materials at no cost to you. And so those materials can come right to you, and you can return it to your local library, and it'll be sent back to the library where it belongs. One of the things that libraries are getting better at, some of them they've done it. Some of you may be thinking we've done this forever, and that's great. I'm so thrilled. But many libraries are still working on their community partnerships. So if you work for an organization and you're not sure how your organization partners with your public library, I invite you to go in and have a conversation with your librarian and talk about what are the possibilities. Or I heard that this library is doing this. Can we do something similar? In that way, we grow that opportunity for families to be tied into more information and have more resources at their fingertips. Some of the other things that we're doing is, and you might see in your library, depending on the size of your town, multi-age groups. This is an example of one of them. And this one, I believe, is in Chautauqua, Kansas, where they did a program over Smokey the Bear. And these are the helpers and the participants, and they took a group picture, but programming was offered to all ages within the group. Different programs happen during the school year as well as during the summer. So, and we're going to talk a little bit about those. And then in many communities in Kansas, especially well, I won't say that. There are in many communities in Kansas where summer food programs are not tied to the school district. Libraries take up the slack, and they will offer food programs during the summer, so that we ensure that kids are getting fed during the summer months. And if you know of a community that could use a service like that and the library is not tied in that way, that can be something to suggest. So you remember, this is local control, and if you're part of the community, then making those suggestions to your library is appreciated. I'm going to pause there and say, are there any questions? Okay. So, one thing that we do offer in Kansas, we have the State Library of Kansas, and I've put the URL at the top of this slide. But I also wanted to show you that it looks like, well, if I can get my mouse, it looks like this. If you aren't sure about something, and specifically in navigating the site or the services, there's this little Ask Us button, and someone will chat with you. There's also a link to a map. So there are lots of things on this page, and I'm going to show you a few things that you can get if you live anywhere in the state or if you are accessing the internet from anywhere in the state. Okay, so let me make this bigger so we can look at this together. I'm linking in here a page that's called Digital Resources for Kids. And when you click on this link, this page is going to come up. And this is specific to elementary school students. And if you'll notice, there's another one that you can click on that's middle and high school students. But for today, I'm going to talk a little bit about this one. This one, all of these are links. This is Explora Kids is an encyclopedia. So many of our schools and our public libraries no longer buy encyclopedias, the book set that we all used to have, the A through Z, because we have these for free. And as soon as an encyclopedia is printed within a year, and usually within a couple months, it's outdated. The information changes that quickly. So think about geographic lines of countries that change, the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America, things like um, what do I want to say? There are so many things that are included in an encyclopedia that information changes continuously. So now we hook people into the Britannica Collective, Explora Kids. There's a link here called Britannica School that gives lessons and provides the opportunity for kids to have feedback. Mango Languages, I'm going to show you the World Almanac, which is maps, of course, and Bookflix. This is a Spanish encyclopedia, Spanish language encyclopedia, and then books, which I'm also going to show you. So I want to make sure you're aware of this page and make sure that you understand that these are all resources that you can access. Now, one of the things that you're going to need is an e-card, and we'll talk about how to get that as well, but I want to show off of some of this first. So this is Mango Languages. And when I click on that link, it's going to take me to a login page. I've already logged in for the sake of time. But this is the ability, so this is in Spanish right now, to learn Spanish or learn different languages. So this is offered to you as a Kansan for free. You can come in and do the lessons and practice your different language skills. You can change languages and select from a bunch of different languages so that you will know how many hours you've worked on it, how many lessons you've completed. So kind of one of those nice things that we think about. This could be really helpful when speaking with some of the families in your community that have the need for other language skills. Okay. The next one, I linked in a brochure. So under ebooks and audiobooks, a digital books brochure. And I want to show you this because this is really important. To access these resources fully, one of the things that you're going to need to do is go visit your local library and ask them to sign up for My Kansas Library e-card. Okay? They're going to look and make sure you don't already have one in their database. And if they do, they'll renew it for you. There are no fines associated with an e-card because all the content is electronic. So you can't miss the deadline on returning your resources. Your password is always going to be your date of birth. So 2 digits for the month, 2 for the day, 4 for the year. And it will tell you when it expires. One of the things about the e-card is you have to renew it every 2 years. So if it's been 2 years since you've accessed anything after having an e-card, then you're going to have to renew your e-card. It's free as well, and it will be available at every public library that you visit. Okay, so let me close those. One of the links that I mentioned earlier is called Bookflix. And if you're working in early childhood, this is something that is you may want to know about. I've got it muted right now, but I'm gonna turn that off so you can see that a lot of this will make a sound.
Animals and nature.
And it'll tell you about the navigation. Of course, it's clicking. I'm sure you can hear that. And then you can choose to watch the story, read the book, do some games that go along with it, or meet the creators. So if we want to watch the story, fill the screen. Just show you a couple minutes.
Come on, Rain.
So I know in early childhood we worry about screen time and we want to limit screen time, but this might be a really good book for emerging readers who are working on rain identification. So the reading level of these books is around beginner level. If you just want to read the book to a child, that have that option as well. So it's not necessary to read the book. And they put together a nonfiction book along with the story so that there's more of the content available to you. So Bookflix is one of those that you can access
Click on a category or
e-card,
click on the feature to begin.
and it's a really nice is annoying. And to turn off the sound, I right clicked on the tab and it allowed me to turn it off. So for now, we're going to close that tab. Another one that you can access with your Kansas e-card is called Vooks, Vooks. Whenever you log in with your Kansas e-card, you'll come to this page and you'll push open now. This is a Mac and Via product. It asks you who's watching, so you can have more than one child in here and not have to log in a million times. And then it offers, again, books. Now, one of the cool things that I found when playing around with this book is the opportunity to record the book using your voice. So you can record yourself telling the story and then come back to it later and or your grandchild could, or your child or your niece or whoever could come back and hear the book in your language. Now, if I did it right, we'll see if it saved my voice. It may not have. I may not have it all down right, but it does have the opportunity to do that. Now, I had this trouble the other day. Let me try it one more time. This is the book that I chose. And I'll just do this so that you can see it. So if you choose, you have to agree, and then you say, let's get started, who you are, and do you want the book one page at a time, or do you want to do it all at once? This time I chose one page at a time, just so I can show you. And let's see what this says. And it gives you, you have 45 seconds to record this page. You push start recording and it counts you down. And you can also, this could be children recording themselves reading this as well. So stay wild, my child. And then it gives you one word at a time. Zoe jumped out of bed. Wake up, Mom, she cried. It's morning. Okay. We'll stop that. And then you can do playback so that you can hear yourself and decide if that's what you want or if it's something you want to re-record. So that's available in books. Now, I have emailed them to let them know whenever I click on the stories and it says watch, it hasn't been launching for me. So just so you know, there may be a glitch going on, and if you encounter that as well, you're not alone. I haven't fully explored to see if it's only me, and I haven't heard back yet, but I hope that they get it fixed soon because it's a really nice product. All right, the next thing I wanted to show you that's on that list is the Kansas, well, I showed you that one, the Cloud Library under books. The Cloud Library, when you log in, is going to look like this. Now, I'm an adult and it's showing me what I told it that I wanted to see. And it's also showing me, based on what I have read before, some suggestions. Now, these are the Kansas Notable Books, which are books by Kansas authors that have been tagged as notable within the state. And each library in Kansas has the opportunity to add these books to their collection and through a grant. And so I hope that most of them have them. The other book award that we have in the state is called the William Allen White. And the William Allen White Book Awards are for kids in elementary school up through, it's either 6th or 8th grade. And so these are the nominees for this school year. So you have to create your own username and password. And you do that when you go to your public library and ask them for a Kansas e-card. Okay, I'm answering a question in the chat. Okay, so the William Allen White nominees, the kids in elementary school in Kansas will have the opportunity starting right now to read all the books, and then they will have the opportunity to vote at the end of the school year on who should win. And then the author comes to Emporia, where this is operated out of the Emporia State University. And the kids come to visit with the author, and there's an overnight opportunity, and it's a big deal in Kansas. We've had some really famous authors come in and some fantastic books be featured. So there are lots of opportunities there for you to be engaged with literature within the state. So this is also showing me new adult books. Here's some Spanish language materials. We do have Spanish language children's books available in this collection as well. And then, of course, there are some, Disability Pride Month, Wellness Month for adults. I read a lot of YA, so it's showing me. And I don't know, maybe I checked something out that was pirate, or maybe they're just showing me it's Pirate Month, but I'm glad they reminded me that because I love Talk Like a Pirate Day. And libraries do too, so that might be something that you tag into. New kid editions and then some school stuff. So you get it. There's lots. Media tie-in means there's a movie available as well. If any of you remember, oh, see, now I don't remember the name of the book that I was going to tell you about. Anyway, we'll come back to that. So there's a lot of ebooks. There's also audiobooks available. And so make sure that if you have folks who have a lot of driving time and they are paying for a service to get audiobooks that they understand, they can also get it for free just by visiting your public library and getting an e-card. And then you've got past notable book winners and past William Allen White winners. So this is a very valuable service that I use on a weekly basis. You can limit it by language. If you only want material that's available in Spanish, then of course you can do that. You can limit it. It's thinking, so it's going to take it a minute to generate that. You can also limit it by format. So if you only want ebooks or audiobooks, um, and then you can do some sorting by different categories as well. Okay, I don't see any more questions, so I'm going to keep going. If you have other questions, let me know. Are people able to get library cards for other libraries in the state? You do not need to be a resident of the county to get a library card in Kansas. You can get a library card at any library and it can be used throughout the state. Now, there are some exceptions to that. And if you are in Topeka and Shawnee County, that's one of the exceptions. So it all depends on your taxing district and what consortiums are formed within your area. Your local library can tell you what's available to you and where your card can be used. So I strongly suggest you go to your local library and ask them about a library card and where it can be used within the state. And if you have other questions that are more specific, let me know. And again, they should all be free. So you should not be charged for a library card in Kansas. I included again that e-card brochure. It will be linked in the slide deck. You can print these out and hand them to families if you want. This is how you access all these materials. And it gives you very specific information about what's available. We also have some other things that are offered that are early childhood programming that are offered in public libraries. You might ask your library if they offer a 1,000 books before kindergarten program. And this is just a program that incentivizes reading books to young children so that they're exposed to literature and language as in their formative years. So that's very common across Kansas. Most of our libraries have these programs, but if not, we can help them get started. So suggest that perhaps that might be something you'd be interested in participating in, and they will readily jump on that. They need to know that people are interested because their time is limited, as you can probably imagine. A few years ago during the pandemic, story walks became pretty popular. So you might ask your library, do you have a story walk? And if not, it could be something that you suggest to them or help them get started. Story walks are the pages of the storybooks are blown up and put on bigger paper and laminated usually, or put in signs. And many times they're along a walking trail or through a park. Some places have them through their downtown businesses or around their town square. So that the families can come then and read the story as they walk. So that's another way to get families reading to young children and also get them out into the community, the opportunity to socialize. We in Southeast Kansas have formulated in the past few years a partnership with Child Care Aware. And we have a collection now that we will interlibrary loan to public libraries, to professionals, and this is the link, and hopefully we'll get that dropped in it's in the chat. And I want to show you what's available. Now you need to have an agency card or a teacher card. So when you go to sign up to do this, you have to ask for that. And then you can see what we have available. So we have some early literacy kits. And they look like things like juggling scarves and flannel board kits and magnetic mazes. So a lot of things that you might find in an early childhood setting, but also some STEM stuff like microbits and makey-makeys. If you don't know what that is, that's fine. You can explore it, but it has to do with programming. We added a cardboard kit that has connectors and saws that are safe for kids to use. Like they're not going to chop their fingers off or anything, but they cut through cardboard so that they can make different things with the cardboard. Lots of puzzles, musical instruments. We just are adding and adding and adding to the collection. And die cut machine. This is another programming um, uh, kit that's a Bebot starter pack that's very easy to use that you'll be able to figure out very quickly. Instructions come with it. So if there are things in our collection that you as a professional would like to use in what you're offering to children and families, we are happy to loan this to you. If you want to take this out on your home visit, one of these like the magnetiles, if you want to take that on your home visit and use it in your play with the child, that's fine. We ask that these do not get loaned out to families. These are professional collections at right now. That could change in the future, but right now that's all we can do. We also have our special needs collection here as well. That will also be interlibrary loaned. We have some items for our system that are pickup only that won't be sent through the courier that I mentioned before because they just would disintegrate. They would be torn up by the time they got to you. But if you stay away from these on the bottom and look at these two collections, then you'll be able to find things. We also have flannel kits and books and puppet kits that we loan as well. So we're happy to loan those out across the state through interlibrary loan. Questions about that? Okay. Moving on then, I wanted to show you a little bit about another program that I do. It's called Family Play Spaces in Public Libraries. And this program is funded through the Children's Cabinet through a CB grant. So what we do is we have libraries apply to become a family play space library. And the applications then are vetted by folks already implementing the program and some families. A decision is made and they then are funded when we have funding to become place-based libraries. Then they are required to form partnerships with those out in the community organizations that are also targeting families with children birth to 5. So if you are one of those agencies and you haven't heard from your library and you'd like to form a partnership, let them know. Um, Even libraries that are not place-based libraries, you can still look at partnership with them. So don't feel like you must find a place-based library in order to become a partner. They go through some classes. We're working on a micro-credential. They form a community of practice and they do some co-design with families so that families are informing what this program looks like. They go through a lot of coursework and then they implement, which looks like families coming into the library more often for things like story time and different programming opportunities. They work on inclusion and making sure the environment is welcoming to all children and families. They prepare their staff. So I had the first library where we implemented this program. The director walked around and told her staff on a regular basis, it's going to be loud, it's going to be loud, just to make sure that they understood that things were going to change. So we're no longer shushing libraries. You won't, any place that's especially a place-based library, you're not going to have people asking you to be quiet because we understand what children are like when they're learning. They learn a lot about early childhood development and family systems. And because this is a CB granted funded program, we also learn a lot about primary prevention and how the work that we're doing is preventing the maltreatment of young children. Family Play Spaces is evaluated through a partnership with KUCPPR, and it continues to grow. We have been recommended for funding for our 5th years because we are seeing a lot of positives come out of this program as it grows across the state. Wanted to show you some of the outcomes from the programs where we're implementing right now. We have 9 programs in Southeast Kansas, in the southeast corner of the state, and we're creating the infrastructure to expand across the state. So what we saw, this is the first year of implementation for Columbus Public Library. So from quarter 1 to quarter 3, they almost doubled in their use of the play space, which means the families coming into the library to use their space. So what it looks like is creating a place where children and families feel welcome and have the opportunity to engage in play-based learning. The circulation also went up from quarter 1 to quarter 3. And again, when you have more people in your space and kids want to be read to and are looking at books, then you have more library cards uh, that are given out, and more items are circulated. Um, so more kids are exposed to literature. Garnett Public Library, also in their first year of implementation, one of the things they wanted to do was bring in families who have children birth to 5. They didn't have a lot of them. And as you can see, they went from almost nothing to 600 children and families coming in Q3, in the third quarter of this year. So we're seeing tremendous change in Garnett, in that area, and the families are really utilizing that valuable resource of their public library. So that also looks like kids getting to socialize with one another and working on those social skills that we hear so much about them being behind on because of the pandemic. And then circulation of their youth materials is represented here as well. So Garnett is a much bigger area than than Columbus and or Toronto, which is our next library that's implementing this year. So you'll see one of the libraries, almost 5,000 circulation versus 50 in Toronto. But you have to understand the difference in populations to understand how big of a change that is in their community. I recently was at Toronto, which is south of Eureka. If you're familiar with the area, it's around a lake. It's a lake community, but the community itself, the town, the regular population, if you will, and not the camping population, is very small, a couple hundred people, and there's a high poverty rate there. So this program was really needed and wanted in the area. And I visited during one of the early childhood programs. They were busting at the seams. It was standing room only. Every time someone else came in, I had to shift to a new location to stand along the wall because there were so many people there. And they're doing just wonderful things for their community and supporting young children and families. If you want to learn more about what we're doing with family play spaces, then I put up our website there. We have some information and what we're based on. Thanks, Pam, for that cheer. I appreciate that. And I appreciated this little boy in Weir showing his love for what we're doing in that space as well. Well, thank you very much for allowing me to share a little bit about libraries with you. Here's my contact information. Feel free to reach out. And if anyone has any more questions, I'm happy to try to answer.
Thank you so much, Tammy. Any questions for Tammy before we move on? All right. Well, if you do, feel free to pop in. We will move on with that. Like I said, thank you so much, Tammy, for showing all of those resources and the wonderful work you are doing with the library play spaces. Next piece that we're going to do is the early childhood system updates. So the first piece is we need your help to shape the future of our monthly All In for Kansas Kids systems building webinar. So if you are able to, we would greatly appreciate if you could take the 5 to 10 minute survey to give us feedback and to fill out the survey webinar that asks about feedback and any possible topics that individuals are interested in hearing. And that link will be put in the chat for the survey. Next piece is the child care zones. So child care zone funding is back. Applications for the second round of those child care zones are due August 25th. So I think that's like not next week, but the following week. So check out the recordings that they had for the informational webinar that was held on July 17th. And prospective applicants must submit an application interest form before starting the application. If you have any questions, please reach out to Jennifer Birdgart, and her email is there. And so if you are interested in that, those childcare zones applications are due August 25th. Next is our upcoming conferences. So our parent leadership conferences the Parent Leadership Conference is September 19th in Wichita. And that link for the detail and registration will be put in the chat. The Kansas Home Visiting Conference will be September 30th in multiple locations. They are doing a really fun format this year where they're holding the conference simultaneously in multiple locations so that individuals in regional spaces can work together and network. So more information on that will be put into the link. And then the Child Care and Early Education Conference will be October 11th in Kansas City. And again, information and registration will be put in the chat. That link will be put in the chat for that conference. Just some quick reminders. Our next instance of the Early Childhood Recommendations panel is August 15th. So this Friday from 9 a.m. to 11:30. As we had said at the beginning, our next Early Childhood Systems Building webinar, so the next version of this meeting is September 10th on Wednesday from 12 to 1. And then the next Children's Cabinet meeting will be Friday, October 3rd from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And all of these meetings can be found on the Children's Cabinet YouTube channel. So stay up to date looking at the Kansas Children's Cabinet YouTube channel, the All In for Kansas Kids newsletter. Thank you so much. And I will stick around if anyone has any questions. And all of those resources were put in the link. Thank you or in the chat. Thank you so much, Bree.